Hello and welcome back to the Remake tutorial. So last time we left off with editing items, and so now we can edit and remove data from the page. This time we're going to add items to the page. So we have the add button at the top, at the bottom of the list, and this add stack button. So let's see how that's done. So let's go to the top of the page to the add stack button right here. We'll put this class attribute on a new line, and we're going to add a special remake attribute called new, and it's going to say new colon, and we're just going to say stack. And I don't know, let's give that a shot, see if it works. Add stack, and boom, it rendered a new stack right here. And if we refresh the page, that stack stays around. That is a working add stack button already with just this one simple attribute. So let's, before I explain how that works, let's just add the other buttons. So I'm going to just search for button, and here we're just going to put this on a new line just for organizational purposes. And we're going to say new, and this is going to be a card button because this is the one that's at the top of the list. That's going to add a new card. So that's new card, and we have one more button on the page down here. We're just going to say new card. Okay, and if I click that button, now I got a new item down here. If I click add card again, I get another new item. And I can edit these, of course. So that's great. These are blank, so that's not great, and we'll fix that soon. But let me first just quickly explain how this is working. So Remake tries to be smart about the way it renders data or adds data to the page because it knows something about the structure of your page. And here what's happening is you're using a for loop to loop over each list, each stack, and render it right in a row horizontally, right? And so Remake knows that. It knows that you're rendering these things called, a stack, right? And so if you just add this attribute new stack, what it's going to do is it's going to grab one of these templates, it's going to do its best to render it, and it's going to add it to the end of the list that you are rendering to. And then it's the same thing for items, right? So it's just going to grab one of these item templates, it's going to do its best to render it, and it's just going to add it to the end of the list. So it just tries to be smart. You can customize that behavior. So for example, if I was to add a value inside of this attribute, I could just say top, and that would add it to the beginning of the list instead. So now if I click add stack, it adds it to the beginning instead. But we want to keep it adding it to the end. So we'll leave that there. And we're actually gonna just delete this data here too, so we can get rid of that first list. Okay, so now there's just a couple small problems left with this. We need to be able to display some text when a new item is created, and also when we add a new stack, we don't want that stack to have an empty title. We want there to be some kind of heading there. So in order to do that, we're going to use a special handlebars helper. And that is the default handlebars helper. So here where we have stack heading, we're just going to put default in here ahead of it. And what default will do is it'll look at stack.stack heading. If it is defined, it will use that. But in the case that stack heading isn't there, it's going to use this alternate value over here. So we'll just say my list. So now if we refresh the page and add a new stack, we're going to get my list as the default value. And then, like we saw before, if I try to save it, it's going to default to that default value from the remake attribute. Okay, great. So now let's default the card text as well. So down here, card, we're just going to have default card.cardText, and we're just going to say my new card. And in fact, since it is a new item, why don't we just say that the same thing up here? So my new list. Okay, so now we'll refresh, and now if we add a new card, we have the default handlebars text. So that's all there is to adding new items. And if you want to learn more about it, look in the documentation. Also, if you want to learn more about handlebars helpers, just search that on Google, and you'll be able to find all of the existing handlebars helpers, and those are all integrated into Remake. Okay, I'll see you in the next video. We are almost finished. Woohoo!